Hello and welcome to this edition of the Podium, which is coming to you live from the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation with me, Asmiba. We start with our quote of the day, which comes from Janet Reno, a former Attorney General of the United States of America, and it says, "Money laundering is a very sophisticated crime, and we must be equally sophisticated." In this edition of the program, police in Lunge seized a large sum of foreign currencies from a foreign national at the Lunge International Airport. Ministries of Agriculture and Health named as two ministries where salary double dipping is happening. Non-state actors at the public budget hearing call on improved budget support to the free education program. And 1 week into the free education, we look at the first week. How has it gone? What are the challenges so far? We shall find out all these and more, including your messages, which you can send to 0883735504. The number again is 0883735504. It's Podium. Let's start with our first issue. The Deputy Commissioner of the Anti-Corruption Commission, Shirley Davis, has presented a report on salary double dipping in the Ministries of Agriculture and Health to the Director General of Human Resource Management Office, Ansu Toka. According to the report, more than 2.8 billion were illegally paid to people over a period of 1 year in two ministries. The report also revealed that staff records of both ministries do not tally with those at the Human Resource Management Office. Well, the government has over the years put several measures in place to clean the government payroll. There have been several assessments over the years to remove ghost workers from the payroll. In the studio is Samson Joseph Saidu. He is the head of monitoring and compliance systems and process review of the Anti-Corruption Commission. Welcome to the program, Samson.
Thank you very much, Hasmil.
Okay. Curbing salary double dipping in MDAs through systems examinations of personnel management, focusing on staff attendance, monitoring and payroll management is the title of this report, which ACC has just published. Now, give us more about it.
This is a follow-up intervention that we did from an investigation that we did last year. Last year we did an investigation on the issue of salary double dipping. It was brought to our attention by DFID, one of our development partners. It's implicated 52 names, and these are staff who are working at the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, and the Ministry of Internal Affairs. So as a result of that intervention, the Anti-Corruption Commission was able to recover over 1 billion euros from that exercise. So we thought it fit that we could scale up that intervention using a systems and processes review approach. The question that came to mind, or the questions that came to mind were, why is it that we have staff who are not working and salaries are being paid on their behalf? Why is it that staff who have abandoned their job for another job and yet salaries are being paid? Why is it that staff who have moved out of this country and permanently resident overseas, salaries are being paid on their behalf? So a lot of questions came up. So to answer that question, we decided to do our systemic intervention. So we piloted. We had the intention of piloting 3, and we had in mind Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, and then Ministry of Agriculture.
Why these 3 ministries? Is it that the ACC had realized that these anomalies you arrive in these 3 ministries alone?
They are very complex in nature, and then the highest government expenditure ministries. They have the highest employees. So there is the possibility of such of these anomalies to prevail. And most of the work that have been done in regards actually weeding out those workers have been focused on these ministries. And for quite some time, that similar intervention have been happening, and we see the results that people whose names are on the payroll but they're not working. Some have abandoned their jobs for some other job, but their salaries were still running. So we decided to look at these 3, but we are able to succeed in 2. That is the Ministry of Health, and that is the Ministry of Agriculture.
So many questions are being asked. Before someone receives his or her salary, the Ministry of Finance needs to know about it, the Accountant General's office, even the office where the person works. These fair organizations should be on the know that this person works or does not work. So how did the system operate?
Now, we have service delivery entities. These ministries have service delivery entities. Let's say, for example, Ministry of Health. They have the hospitals. They have their PHUs, of which they should have a system to track attendance monitoring and information about staff regards their attendance or some other HR related activities should be conveyed to the ministry's HQ, and that's from there they relay the information to the HRMO, and the HRMO thereafter inform the Ministry of Finance, that's the Accountant General, for action. So we looked at all of these three to see where the problem lies. We collected data on number of staff for the two ministries, Agriculture and Health, from the Ministry of Health headquarters, and then we came to the HRMO, asked for the staff list with regards to those two ministries, and we collected the payroll, and then we went to the provinces to verify data collected from HQ to see where we can do data triangulation to see consistency in the number of staff from HQ, from at district level, at HRMO level.
And you found out some discrepancies?
Definitely, there are discrepancies. The figures at HQ, say for example, both districts, figures stated at the HQ for both districts, when we went there, we verified the figures are different. We also collected data from the HRMO. HRMO has different figure. So this is the kind of thing, and then of course what we saw was the major problem, lack of an effective attendance monitoring system. We do not have, particularly for the Ministry of Agriculture, they do not have even a system that will have to convey information about staff attendance to the HQ for action, for appropriate action.
What about heads of department? Because each ministry has departments, and each department has a head. Is it that those heads are not supervising their subordinates?
Yes. We also realize the suspicion is the line supervisors or heads of departments, we are not giving them credible information to the ministry's headquarters for action. And that is the reason why we still have names on the payroll that have people who have abandoned their jobs for some other job, and then people who have retired, their names are still existing. People who have resigned, and people who are dead, their names are still existing on the payroll. So that is why, because we are not genuinely conveying those important data for action. So we realize that there's no credibility. Even those that are really managing the attendance monitoring system, say for example at the Ministry of Health, yes, they do have a system that now for Ministry of Health, they have the attendance monitoring system. It's an electronic-based system. Though they do their attendance on the attendance register, but the information is collated on a monthly basis, inputted into a system that will automatically convey that data to the HQ, and there's a team there that will sort out the information and send information to the HRMO for action. But we still, as I said, with all of those ICT infrastructure in place at the Ministry of Health, we still have people who have abandoned their job, who are involved in double dipping. Their names are still existing.
Okay. Well, continue with us. He is Joseph Saidu. Let's go to another issue now. You can send your messages to the number 08373-504. Well, the Sierra Leone Police in Lungia and the Financial Intelligence Unit are investigating a large sum of foreign currency seized at the airport. Well, according to a report, a businessman, Yusuf Anta, was in the possession of £60,000, 250,000 euros, and over 360,000 United States dollars. Well, he was about to board Air Maroc when he was intercepted, and they realized that he was in possession of the said amount of money unknown to the airport authority. Well, Idris Ndola is a member of the Native Consortium and Research Center, and he has joined us. They've been following this issue. It happened just when the country is struggling to see how it could put under control the rising foreign exchange. Welcome to the program, Idris.
Good afternoon.
What does it mean, especially at a time when the government is struggling to see how the exchange rate should be brought under control, and we see someone taking out of the country huge amounts of forex?
Well, firstly, let me say, I mean, it was very surprising for us to see a businessman who I think knows the law to travel with over $10,000 out of the country, attempt. And it's stated in our laws that you cannot travel with over $10,000 without declaring it to the airport authorities and the government. The reason why these things are put in place is to make sure that the government keeps tracks of money that are leaving the country and also the ones that are leaving through the banks. I mean, Mr. Anta had the opportunity of using the banks to transfer money to another country or where he was going to. And also, this also, if he would have been allowed to leave the country, it would have put a bad image on Sierra Leone. Imagine he gets to Morocco airport and then he's intercepted with such amounts of money. And where he left is Freetown International Airport. And what that will create in the minds of Moroccans, and also at the time we are trying to stabilize the exchange rate. Someone is traveling to over $360,000. I mean, in total, if you look at that whole package, it's close to $800,000 if you put it together and exchange that. So that's a whole amount of money that could make a dent on the exchange rate here in Sierra Leone. And he was living.
And who is this Anta?
Well, they say he's a businessman. I mean, being a businessman, yes, we know that you can do business and you have to have access to foreign exchange. But if Mr. Anta wanted to really do something legal with that particular money, I think the best he would have done is declare the money or transfer the money to the banks and then get it out. And also, I think the Financial Intelligence Unit would have to investigate also the reason why he was living with such money. Where did he get that amount of money from? I mean, how long has he been accumulating that amount of money? Or whether he went to a particular bank and just withdrew that particular amount of money. I mean, if that is also the case, which particular bank allowed that particular type of
What if he had kept the money in his safe, in his home or in his business place?
Well, that the government wouldn't have known also. But the fact that he tried to leave the shores of Sierra Leone with that particular amount of money is what's so alarming. I mean, he has such amount of money. People have money in their homes that they are keeping, yes. No one is going to hold you to that. But why was he leaving such amount of money? I mean, why didn't he declare that particular amount of money? If it wasn't for the alertness of the police at that particular time, he would have left the shores.
Was it an alertness when he had gone through customs, he had gone through immigration? It was about, I think it was just the last check that they intercepted him. Well,
if he had gone through all those, the last check is meant to where they scan your bags and other things. Remember, when you go through immigration, your bags are not normally your hand luggage, because this was his hand luggage. I mean, it's normally not gone through.
But it's not. But it is normally scanned to.
Yes,
computer.
I mean,
and the computer once the scanning is done, it tells you the contents in the bag, whether hand luggage or whatever luggage.
Yes, and if that bag is scanned also, and those that are there saw that particular amount of money and didn't do anything towards arresting that particular individual, I think also, and we as a consortium think that those that were working at the airports at that particular moment, for immigration, for even the customs office, should be included in investigation where they give him money. And also there was a point where he was claiming that he had monies in his pocket that were taken from him by the police also. That also should be investigated. When people are arrested, whatever they have on them should be handed over to the relevant authorities and not taken away from them. And these are issues that even the Anti-Corruption Commission should come into and look where were the mistakes and what happened for this man to cross all these points and get to this particular. I mean, he was at the point of leaving. I mean, if we are talking about such huge amount of money and your bag is scanned and the people at that particular point see that you have this large amount of money, they have questions to ask. What happened? Why they didn't ask the particular question that were supposed to be asked at that particular time? What did Mr. Anta give them, or what excuse did he give to them that warranted them for them to leave that particular man, to leave those two areas with that amount of money?
For them to have allowed Mr. Anta to go through all those checks and processes, that must have come from a very senior authority.
Well,
not just
well, also you are saying that it might come from someone.
No, I'm saying for a junior man to allow such a person to go ahead with such amount of money.
Well, in Sierra Leone, where we know that corruption is an issue that we are fighting, you can't rule out the fact that maybe that particular junior man who is scanning the bag just look at the scanner and just said, yeah, okay to go, if Mr. Anta had already talked to him prior to that. So it's not everything that maybe people high up the food chain of power maybe might know about. If he had talked to the man before going to scan his bag and has given him money, what would the man at the top know? Because the man down there is expected to scan the bag, know what's in the bag, and then alert the boss of what's in the bag. If he didn't do that, then that's why I said investigation should go on. Did this particular officer who scanned the bag inform the senior officer that such and such amount of money is in the bag? If he didn't, why didn't he do that?
Well, I mean, the CCTV I erected all over the airport, that should also enhance, that should help the police in its investigation. They should go back to the CCTV room and preview from where Mr. Anta stepped his feet at the airport, well, the procedures he went through, those who searched him, what transpired until he went to the VIP lounge, until he descended and find his way, until he was intercepted at the last point.
Yeah, well, like how you just mentioned everything, that's the duty of the police, and also that of the Financial Intelligence Unit, which is entrusted with responsibility of tracking the amount of money in this country and also people who are into money laundering. I mean, so if these information are all available to the Financial Intelligence Unit with the help of the police, they would be able to know why Mr. Anta got past the immigration, why he got past the customs. If anything transpired, I mean, a CCTV image won't lie if you are being given money. So these are all the things that the police and the Financial Intelligence Unit will have to look into, and we as a consortium, we are following this particular issue, and we want to know how this particular man got to that particular point of leaving this country, that particular amount, and not only that, where did he get that particular amount of money? If it was from a particular bank, which bank, and why was he given that particular amount of money? If it was over a particular period, why didn't the bank notice? And what really took place between him and that particular bank? These are the issues that you want to know.
Where do you think this businessman in question, Yusuf Anta, decided not to use the electronic way to have sent the money to his destination, whatever, to do whatever transaction he wanted to do?
Well, that's the thing that we should be, that's the particular question that we should be asking, because if you use an electronics bank transfer, you don't have any problem. You should be walking through the airport, going to your plane, go where you want to go to a particular bank and collect the money. I mean, if there's nothing dubious about this particular individual, then the laws that states that you shouldn't travel with more than $10,000, and you attempting to travel with more than $10,000 without declaring it to the airport authorities, shows you and says everything that particular money has something illegal about it, that the police and the FIU should investigate.
Some people say there have been so many Yusuf Antas. It's just that maybe this one ran out of luck.
Well, if this one has run out of luck, then this should be the starting point for those who are also thinking about doing that particular thing, to know that the time has come for it to stop.
He is Idris Ndole from Native Consortium and Research Center. It's Podium coming to you from Freetown. Send your message to the number 088373 504. When we look into the free education, there has been several issues which range from overcrowding in schools. Some schools are unable to go to one shift, and others have still not received the books that the government promised to supply. Well, and lack of also trained and qualified teachers are among some of the issues that are affecting the free education for now. Well, the free education program is being implemented at a time when Inspectorate Division at the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education is still working to see how they could deploy inspectors in schools. Well, in the studio, someone will be talking also. Alfonso, I'll come to you later. Let me start with B.W. Bokari. He's coming from the Strategic Communications Unit of the Ministry of Information and Communication. Welcome to the program, B.W. Bokari.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, we've started counting already. It's 1 week since the free education began in our country. How has the first week gone?
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. First of all, we'll all recall that this flagship program had a lot of engagements even before the kick-off formally on 17th September. Several engagements have been made between partners, authorities of the Ministry of Education, local council, civil society organizations, Sierra Leone Teachers Union, and the rest. But for the past 1 week, maybe I'll just give you what has really happened. First of all, the most important thing that has taken place is the access to the schools. Thousands of kids, maybe without this particular flagship program, would have stayed at home. They have had the access to the schools. That is very, very phenomenal. And secondly, of course, we have been engaging on the distribution of books, like you rightly said, distribution of exercise books, and payment of fees, subsidies into the respective accounts of schools. That has been completed. And of course, at the end of it all, we have challenges throughout the week.
And one of the challenges is this issue of accommodation. Just now you said access to schools. The
Sure.
free education brought out many kids who wouldn't have been brought out. But the question that one is tempted to ask also is that these children have not had enough accommodation. Not all of them have been accommodated.
Yeah, thank you very much. I don't think we would have even spoken about accommodation if the kids had stayed at home. But thank God they're in schools, and one of the key challenges we really discovered during the partnership tour to get out, donor partners, the Ministry of Education, donor partners, including CSOs, is the issue of accommodation. And this issue of accommodation has been taken as key to be addressed within the shortest possible time.
And that is crucial because the government also has in mind to move the school system from 2 to 1 shift system.
Yeah.
But I mean, 1 shift cannot operate in this kind of chaotic atmosphere in schools where classrooms are not enough.
Yeah. Like I rightly said, I mean, a series of meetings have been held between the school authorities, the Sierra Leone Teachers Union, the Ministry of Education, and all the rest. And this issue of 1 shift came in. Remember, it's a program that is going to be carried out in phases. And this first phase, I think there was an understanding between the school authorities and the Ministry of Education that if it is possible for you to go 1 shift, you can go 1 shift. But if it is not possible, then along the lines, by next academic year, this would have been addressed.
I mean, that is not fair. Some kids are going to be disadvantaged. Those who go under the 1 shift will have more advantage, they have more time in the classroom than those who go under the 2 shift system.
Well, like I said, I mean, these problems will be addressed as we go along the lines. We wouldn't have waited until those problems are solved before even kicking off. Those issues will be addressed as we go along the lines. And like you rightly said, quite apart from even the classroom accommodation or the structures, we're also talking about community teachers, approval of teachers, as we'll have it. But definitely, I will assure you that over 80% of the schools, some schools have already gone 1 shift.
What about the 50 per class? Did it work?
Well, it's currently working at the moment because, yes, we would have hitches there also. But like I said, for everything, there must be a start. As we go along the lines, those problems will be adequately addressed. But for now, the 50, I think it's working.
Well, I spoke to the president of the SLTU. He said, as far as he was concerned, I'm quoting him, he said as far as he was concerned, 50 per class is not visible for now.
Well, he is saying it, but yes, I think I agree with him. It's not visible in certain circumstances, really. But in some schools, it's visible because...
for government-assisted schools?
Yes, government-assisted schools. It's visible, and I think it's carrying on. And there is enthusiasm on the part of the school authorities and the teachers too. Because who would have thought of, attention being paid to single students when, doing work in class. Before now, the people-teacher ratio was between 1 to 40, 35, 40, But with 50, I think there is some amount of convenience until we address the issues as we go along the lines. You remember, we have a 5-year term. And within this time, definitely a lot would have been done.
Hasn't the government taken more than what it can chew?
Beg your pardon?
Hasn't the government taken more than what it can chew?
No, well, really, not really that. Because taking more than what you can chew depends on how you prioritize the activities, the issues that you want to address. That's what we are doing exactly.
Okay, here's B.W. Bakari from the Strategic Communications Unit of the Ministry of Information and Communication. It's Podium, reaching you from Freetown. Well, 10 days into the Ministry of Finance public hearing on the 2019 budget for ministries, departments and agencies have highlighted lots of issues at this year's public hearing. Well, the next budget is going to be performance-based in line with policies and programs of the new direction. Key among them are the issues of human development, education, energy, agriculture, and private sector development. One organization that has been monitoring the public hearing is the Civil Rights Coalition. Well, the executive director of that organization is Alfonso Manley. Welcome to the program, Alfonso.
Yeah, thank you very much and good afternoon to you.
Okay, you've witnessed the hearings and you've seen, you've heard. What is that you've seen and what you've heard?
Okay, thank you very much. In this year budget discussion, we have the SOEs coming in, which is state-owned enterprises. And the benchmark for these state-owned enterprises, I mean, the governments want them to be profitable. But of course, we raise the issue that some of these institutions provide social service, like the SLRTC, the Guma Valley. So we said if you cannot run on profit basis, but ensure you run on break-even, so that the government will not be just giving you money, and you don't have value for money. Of course, that we agree with the government. So for the very first time, we'll have the state-owned enterprises. I mean, in this year's presentation, there is a format by the Ministry of Finance. That is a detailed format, so which will enable us, government, to monitor your activities. In your presentation, you are required to, first of all, state your mandates, the mandates of the institution. So, in stating your mandates, Ministry of Finance and SOEs can pick up whether there are conflicting mandates with other institutions. Like, I mean, we have the Civic Education Institute just created by the government, wherein we have NCD, we have the Ministry of Political Affairs. And we said that this is misplaced under the Ministry of Economic Development, because when you talk of civic education, it should either be under the Ministry of Education or under the Ministry of Political and Public Affairs, because all of their programs, these are civic education. Part of your presentation, you should also tell us about your 2017-2018 deliverables. What you have done in 2017, the deliverables you set, and activities. If there are overlapping activities, you should make it clearly so we can assess you based on that. You should also state clearly whether you have NGO support, donor support. And in some donor support, it is required by the government to give counter funding. You should also state the amount of counter funding by the government.
Why is the Ministry of Finance only coming with these measures now? Is it that in the past budget hearings, MDs will just go and read what they had prepared and they are giving? Okay.
No, normally there is a template, but year after year you better the process. Okay. You know, taking into consideration best practices. And one of the unique things that's happened in this budget hearing, the Ministry of Finance sets the pace. They were the first to present and they were within their ceiling. But one can ask, they must be within their ceiling because this is the Ministry of Finance. They will not want other MDAs to go beyond their ceiling. So had it been the office of the president who have stated ceiling from them, perhaps they would have gone beyond their ceiling. But they set ceiling for themselves. But they have now an organogram for which clearly you can know officers attached to that ministry and their functions clearly stated out, the roles they perform. You know, I mean, I think that's a novelty in the Ministry of Finance. You now have a clear organogram for which you can tell the economic department and staff are attached to different MDs, you know, to assist them in the budget process. But key also in this presentation is the government's flagship program, which is the free quality education program. Of course, when they presented on Saturday, you have the first phase of the free quality education, which is one, to abolish tuition fees, registration fees, also to abolish the issue of the SS4, also to procure textbooks for primary schools, textbooks for secondary schools, and also learning and teaching materials, including handbooks. Also to have the ministry to establish situational room across the country that will give them feedback on happenings in the fields. Also, to have a technical committee that will chart the roadmap for the free quality education, and this technical committee is being comprised of ministries, departments, and agencies. And uniquely also, we have the public-private partnership.
Now, Alphonse, let us look at the Ministry of Education. How did they do their own presentation? Because this budget focuses on the issue of free education. That's because it is government's priority for now, and the Minister of Education is going to take the lead.
Yeah, thank you very much. You know, this is why we as CSO want to justify the reason for the Ministry of Education going above their ceiling. Because when you talk about free quality education, there must be structures that you should put in place to enhance the free quality education. For instance, there are series of departments in the Ministry of Education that need capacity. As I'm talking to you, there are over 450 vacancies in the Ministry of Education, which includes the Directorate of Inspectorate. And the Minister of Finance was talking about educational governance. It's a system all of us knows in the 80s. When you're in class, you will just see somebody enter the class, sit at the back, you assess the teacher, the output of the teacher, whether the teacher have a lesson note, you have roll call, or you are in line with the curriculum that is supposed to deliver to the students. By then we are called the items of West Africa. Except to go back to those issues, having educational governance, we will not achieve the free quality education. Meaning that if you are in Tankoro, you cannot supervise the school in Sandor. If you want to supervise the school in Sandor, you are an inspector, you must stay in Sandor. You must interact with the World Committee set up by the Ministry of Education.
Is that not a recipe for you to be compromised?
It's not a recipe for compromise. It's a way to improve the free quality education. Because living from Freetown to supervise the school in Sandor, your DSA, the amount of fuel you consume, and you cannot know of regular happenings in the school, because there are some happenings the school will not report it to you. You need to find out yourself. I mean, it's also good we have the Teaching Service Commission. We look at the issues of teacher. But one of the key aspects that I picked out in the presentation is to ensure government safe course, and at the same time we equipped the school's library. Has to do with the issue of textbook. I asked the question, who owns this textbook? Because for the first phase, government is going to procure 4 textbooks, and these are the core subjects. So I suggested, I said government is going to procure 4 textbooks. Perhaps this first phase will have English, mathematics, and 2 science textbooks. This textbook, at the end of the year, we should ensure students return it to the school and the school keeps it in library. Come next year, they will procure another 4 subjects. So in 2 years, you have 8 subject textbook for 8 subjects. In 3 years, you have all the textbooks. So, if you have 50 kids in this particular class from one, maybe moving forward when you have additional class, you have 45. Even though the students will own the textbook at that particular time, but you have remaining textbook in the school library that are used to research. Even though you have passed Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, you want to research about some Form 1 material, you will easily go to the school library and you reference whatever material you want. So they agree with me that the textbook is owned by the school, the exercise book is owned by the pupils, the handbook is owned by the pupils, because this is a way to develop the library. But there is a catch there. A, you must ensure you procure durable textbook. B, parents must own up to their responsibility. For instance, you have some students, they will put their lunch inside their bag, and it has the tendency perhaps to soil the textbook. It is the responsibility of us to sensitize parents, and it is the responsibility of parents to ensure they supervise their kids. Look, this book is the property of the government. If you have 4 children, one is in Form 1 now, the other one is in Class 5. When your other kids get to Form 1, you will benefit from this same text. So you have the responsibility to ensure you keep these textbooks, you own it, because it's the property of the government. Okay. So we suggested that, and indeed, the CEO and the minister said yes, the textbook is owned by the government, and parents have the responsibility to ensure their kids take care of this textbook. If they destroy it, they will pay for it, because we want to see a system where you equip the library. So when you want to research, so it will reduce the issue of children buying pamphlets in school. Because in the presentation, they invited some school children. They asked the question, Teachers are selling pamphlets to us in school, but with the issue of the library fully equipped with all of the textbook, it will be a thing of the past. We are in teacher printing pamphlets, and it will better up the system. And there is need for the Ministry of Finance, because the ceiling that they gave the Ministry of Education is 162 billion. The presentation that the ministry did was 534 billion, and it is justifiable. So they have a variance of 372 billion.
That's almost 300% increment.
It's justifiable because you have to service all of the departments in the ministry. As we are talking, the Department of Planning in the Ministry of Education, they don't have office. As we are talking, Inspectorate Division, they don't have vehicle. As we are talking, they have to train teachers. As we are talking, they have to put in mechanism in place.
Although this cannot be done in just 1 year.
No, this is the first
government
phase.
has a 5-year mandate.
No, this is the first phase.
No, but this budget is only talking about 2019. And
Yes,
the government has 5-year
and
mandate.
it's justifiable. This is why they call
300% increment.
No, listen, you don't look at the percentage increment. You look at the activities. You look at their deliverables. How can you implement the free quality education without inspectorate in those remote areas? So are kids in Freetown better off than them? How can you implement the free education without wash facilities?
Okay, I'll come to you later in the program. He is Alfonso Manley. The program is Podium, coming to you from now. Something. Is this a mirror of what is happening in all MDs?
Well, it was a pilot intervention, and we have an intention also to replicate this exercise in some other MDAs from next year. So until we get there, then we'll be able to ascertain whether it's happening there or not. But as it is, we have realized that the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Health have double dippers.
And you also found out that someone at the age of 18 received salary. I don't know. At the age of 18, that person should be in school.
Yes, as I told you earlier on, we requested for the voucher, the payroll from the Accountant General's Department, and we thoroughly examined and reviewed that voucher. A lot of issues we identified.
And which ministry is that?
For the Ministry of Agriculture.
Okay.
Yeah. We realized that the age, there's a column for under age of personnel. We queried that, and we saw 14 years, 15 years. So these are the issues. It's in our reports. If you are privy to the reports, you can see the issues there. But we'll pick up that one with the Accountant General and the ministry itself.
Okay. Well, we shall talk about the recommendations later in the program. It's Podium, coming to you from Freetown with me, Asmiuba. We are going for a short break. After the break, the program continues. We are back with the program Podium, which is coming to you from Freetown with me, Asmira. Shortly, we shall read the text messages, but let me continue. Idris, let us look at the investigations. You and I know in Sierra Leone, once an incident like this happens, the media hypes it 1 or 2 weeks, it dies naturally. It has happened in the past.
Yes, yeah, you are very right on that. I mean, that's the truth. That in the process that we have issues within this country that has come up. I mean, when it involves investigation, one week, 2 weeks, there's a public outcry, and then it dies down, and then it's a natural death. We don't know the end of what happens. But we as a consortium have taken up the onus of following this particular issue, and for us to urge the government. I mean, like you said before, it's not only Mr. Anta. I mean, there might have been other people, and even maybe this might not have not been Mr. Anta's first travel with such huge amounts of money. If you look into it rightly, I mean, we should stop these.
Where was Mr. Anta heading for?
He was going
because
to
these
Morocco.
are all the questions that
he was heading for Morocco. Right.
That's maybe just a transit.
Maybe that's just a transit.
His
final
destination
destination couldn't have been known. I mean, but what we are saying is, if someone leaves a particular country with huge amount of money and goes to another country, and that particular money is impounded, it stays with their government. I mean, that's happened in the case of the vice president of Guinea-Bissau. He went to Brazil with a huge amount of money, and it was impounded, and it was kept by the Brazil government. I mean, meaning, you as a country don't get the money back because you are not allowed to enter a particular country with that huge amount of money without declaring it to customs. Because when you declare it, they will tell the where you're going that you're coming to such amount of money. I mean, if Mr. Anta didn't declare that a particular amount of money, and he was living for Morocco, he gets to Morocco and the Moroccan government says you cannot leave Sierra Leone with more than $10,000, and now you're here with this particular amount of money, and they impound it. I mean, it would be money added to the coffers of the
the Financial Intelligence Unit, do they have the manpower, the intelligence, the skills to dig deeper into this issue, to drill more?
Yes, I believe they do, because the Financial Intelligence Unit works with the other state institutions. I mean, when they discover certain issues or certain financial malpractices or what we might see money laundering issues, they send these reports to the agencies that are responsible for them to take action on these particular issues. And in this case, when the police discovered this particular amount of money, the next thing they did was to call the Financial Intelligence Unit, because that's their duty, to investigate this particular amount of money, where it comes from, where was Mr. Anta going, when did he acquire this particular amount of money, and what was the procedures that he used in order to leave this country with try to leave this country with that particular amount of money, and on what grounds was he leaving that particular amount of money. What did he want to do with that particular amount of money? These are the questions that the FIU would ask. So we as a consortium would be writing the Financial Intelligence Unit for them to give us updates as they are going on with the investigations, so we can know and come back to the public and tell them this and this was what Mr. Anta was trying to do, this was what he was trying to do with the money, and this was the reason why he was trying to leave the country this particular huge amount.
That's the investigation aspect. What about the anyway, the SEC man is not here talking about it. It all boils down on systems review of the airport authority.
Yes,
how
also
security is being provided, how security is being manned. Because if someone can cost with that amount of money, having gone through certain checks, whether deliberately or not, he was not picked. Not until the last check for him to board the flight.
If you want to talk about the airport, Sierra Leone airports, on issues and it involves personnel and other things, there are many issues at that particular airport that we can talk about all day long. I mean, from missing bags to people losing property when the bags come in and whatsoever. These are daily occurrences at our airports. I mean, when you get your luggage in, you have things in there before you get them back.
They have been pilfered.
They have been pilfered. So it's not only, this is not only something that, like you rightly said, it's a heads up for those that are concerned about this particular airport, the head of the airport, and also for them to know that if that particular man was able to get through those 2 points, I mean, what are the other things that must have left this country?
We also have a private security firm, Westminster.
Westminster.
Yep. Yeah, they are the airport,
Yes.
providing security.
Mm.
So these are all security layers. You have the Sierra Leone police, you have Westminster, you have the immigration. There are layers of security.
Which means they are not working.
Okay. The program is Podium coming. These are all the questions that investigators
They are not working.
should ask.
Yes, they are not working.
They begin their work.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, Bidoi Bokai, now let us look at the issue of the teachers themselves and the schools you visited. How did you see? Well, I would say, I have spoken to some people. They hold this view that we still need more teachers in the classrooms.
Yes, I think that's correct, because you would also recall that I think the ministry engaged on a nationwide census, and those problems, those issues were discovered in schools across the country. So we are the ministry putting in modalities to address those issues. Like I was saying, the first part of the free quality education has been experienced. We have seen the challenges, and this is one part of the challenges. Among those challenges also we have the approval of community schools. You know, the flagship program is currently for government and government assisted schools, and mind you, those community schools are also attended by Sierra Leonean children. You know, so modalities are also being put in place to ensure that as long as those community schools meet the criteria as indicated in the Education Act of 2004, they will be brought
Are they
on
going
board.
to be left alone to meet the criteria, or is the Ministry of Education going to enhance them
The
so that they
ministry-
will meet the criteria?
No, definitely the ministry will have to do that. Remember, there have been several mushroom schools. So what the ministry is doing, they will look at the schools, the proximity of two schools, perhaps, maybe three. If they see one singular school does not meet the criteria, but bringing them together, they will meet the criteria, then definitely they will have to bring them together to establish one school, and anything goes on. With the area of teachers, well, you will see the enthusiasm on the teachers' faces when you go to the schools. But some had already carried some reservations, which it's been addressed now. Some people have been asking for the package for teachers, blah, blah, blah. But what is happening, we have the Teaching Service Commission, like my brother rightly said, and the Sierra Leone Teachers Union as an organization seeking the interests of teachers. So what is happening now, they are now negotiating with the government to ensure that those who are brought on board, hundreds of thousands who are left out, who are now brought on board, giving out PIN codes, will definitely, their issues will definitely be addressed. And we will not discuss everything out here because negotiations will be taking place between the authorities and the Sierra Leone Teachers Union in collaboration with the Teaching Service Commission. But I mean, the issue about teachers is key because that's where you have the quality. And the government is not oblivious of the fact that you cannot provide free quality education isolating teachers. So they are being considered very seriously. But today, we are talking about transparency and accountability, and therefore we ensure that we go through the correct procedures.
What about normally in previous years, the first 1 week or even the week that's a prelude to the reopening of schools, you see parents running up and down, schools asking parents to pay money. Even this first 1 week, I'm sure a report like that did come out, though not
Isolated
large
cases.
amount. Isolated cases.
Yes.
It did happen also in the first 1 week.
But well, there's a difference this academic year because even before the schools reopened, and like it was assured by the government, fee subsidies. Remember, the issue about fees had been crucial in the management of the schools. Fee subsidies payments, you know. And you realize that in very minor cases, maybe little instances where you heard about kids being sent out of school because of exercise book or pencils. But definitely it was key for the school fees. If you are absent, I mean if you are without fees, kids were sent out of school during examination periods, you know. It is not happened this time around.
Okay.
Already everything is being in the accounts of respective schools. If there is any school that will say they've received nothing at the moment, then there must be a question.
Okay,
Because before now, they used to send monies into personal accounts of head teachers or principals.
Okay.
Now it is different. Now
Okay.
it is directly into the school's account.
Let's go for text messages. This one says, happy to see Mr. Alfonso on TV again. Welcome back. And says, Mr. Manley, please investigate the St. Anthony Primary School. They are asking parents to pay 180,000. What are these monies meant for? The security man who aided Mr. Yusuf Anta to circumvent procedures at the airport could have done the same to even a terrorist who would have offered to pay the security man in question handsomely. The free quality education has started, but yet we have not seen book supply, and this is the second week, so we need some explanation. The findings by the ACC is really serious and needs serious action by the ACC. The Systems and Process Review Unit should do some review in some MDAs, and you will find similar issues. The final for now says non-state actors have a great role to play in the 2019 budget hearing, and we are happy that they are bringing out these issues up for immediate action. Alfonso, are these new issues that are coming up this time around?
Yeah, thank you very much. Firstly, for the teachers, I have good news for them. Let me communicate that one.
And the good news, are you doing?
No, because the Teaching Service Commission have presented, and we have the duties as non-state actors to communicate some of these findings to the public. You know, there was an executive order that if you are 60 and above, you must be removed from the payroll. Over 3,000 teachers was removed from the payroll. They have now submitted about 1,000 names to the Ministry of Finance so they can be replaced with their PIN code. And the process is ongoing. And that's a very good news for teachers. First of all, let me just communicate division in the Ministry of Education. This have to justify their projection of about 532 billion. You have the administrative department, you have the Directorate of Planning and Policy. As now I'm talking to you, they have no offices. You have the primary and secondary division, you have the educational program and national school feeding program, Directorate of Inspectorate, you have the Directorate of Non-Formal Education, you have the Directorate of Science Technology Secretariat, you have the Secretariat for Free Quality Education, you have the Directorate for Research and Curriculum. All of these offices need to be capacitated for to achieve.
But they cannot be capacitated in just 1 year.
No, but they have to recruit some staff. Lastly, what we are advocating for is that this basket fund for education, donors that want to support the free quality education should put money into this basket fund, and in line with their strategic plan, the ministry can roll out the programs. What you will do, you will monitor, because we don't want duplication of programs. Perhaps we have another NGO we announced that they've supported government over $30 million with the free quality education. How do you spend this money? Government don't know. Government don't monitor. You say you bought free school bags for children, you bought sandals for children, you supply books for children. No, that's not justifiable. Put the money into the basket fund, monitor the strategic plan of the Ministry of Education. In line with their strategic plan,
but the NGOs will say the money is theirs, so they can choose how and when they do.
No, that's wrong. That's a very wrong concept.
But that's how they've been operating.
Well, in fact, the Chief Minister made a statement when we launched the budget hearing. He said donors must be accountable and they must work in line with government priorities. And in working in line with government priorities, you not dictate the pace. We tell you what we want. We tell you our needs.
Who pays the piper?
No, it's not. It should not be in the normal case that donor come in and dictate the pace. It's different. What we say, if you want to support us, ask us the area that we need help. The area that we need help, you have a budget, well-costed budget, well-prepared strategic plan. Let your activities be tailored into those strategic plans. This is why you should put your money into the basket fund, but you ensure you monitor the process well. That's why civil society is there. And lastly, the issue of teachers will be our next port of call, because in achieving this free quality education, the integrity of teachers, pupils, relationship.
Okay. Thank you very much, Alfonso. Idris, in just 5 seconds. So what do we hope to see in the next 1 week?
Well, we hope to see the Financial Intelligence Unit conclude the issue of this Mr. Anta, and let us know where it will be heading, whether it will be charged or anything.
Samson, for other MDs, when are you going there?
Come next year, 2019. Okay. So then we're able to profile 11 practical.
I wish we had time for, but we'll find other programs so that you explain to us what the recommendations were. Bidde Bakari, the second week of the free education?
Well, textbooks, registers, going through procurement process. Okay. The books have gone to thousands of schools up country. This week,
some schools are yet to receive.
Yes, okay. This week, the Western area.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. It is Bidde Bakari from the Strategic Communications Unit of the Ministry of Information and Communication. And that's how we end the podium for today. On behalf of all my guests and my producer, Salmataba, I've been your host, Asmiuba. Till we join you again tomorrow. God bless you. Goodbye.